Welcome everyone, it's RustyMoney here. This is a place of live streams, challenges, let's plays, and more. So sit back and relax with your favorite beverage and a delicious donut, and I hope you enjoy this next creation. Welcome everyone, it's RustyMoney here, and we are here to show you the how to start the new challenge that I created with some assistance from my great friend Crustu Gaming. So this challenge, first off, is called Can You Survive 25 Challenge. So you will be able to play this in career mode, or I will allow multiplayer. I will explain how I allow multiplayer. So if you choose to play it with multiplayer, I prefer that you use multiplayer as a single player game. Um, and by which means I mean you will have your farm account and then you will have a bank account. Okay, and the bank account will allow you to give you the option of like free landscaping on console, especially as I do play on console on PlayStation 5. Now, if for some reason you do want to take this challenge on with a group of friends, I'm not here to restrict you from playing the game at all, and I believe that my good friend Crustu is not here to restrict you from playing the game either. So if you do want to take this in a multiplayer aspect and see how far you all want to go, that is fine as well. The focus of this challenge, though, is via career mode. Career mode is the ultimate focus for this challenge. So first off, we will choose career mode. We will select an empty slot. And now the difficult part is which map of these three will you choose? Riverbend, Hutan Pantai, or Zelonka? You may choose any one of those three maps to take on this challenge. The next thing you will do is you will change this from new farmer to start from scratch. Okay, now start from scratch has an amazing setup that Crustu and I pretty much already had preset for this challenge before the game even came out. Okay, now what I didn't give any thought to that I just realized before recording was the fact of if you would want to start with the start farm or not. I will say that the ultimate focus of this challenge is to start this challenge without a farm. So you would select no. It also is up to you whether or not you would want to, if you would want to do the guided intro tour. Now, if you decide not to choose the start farm, then you cannot do the guided intro tour. You need to have the start farm in order to do the guided intro tour. So, I'm going to leave that optional as to whether or not you want the start farm, because again, I don't want to restrict any players from playing the game, nor do I want to restrict anyone from taken on a challenge and challenging themselves to a different way of playing Farming Simulator, and I believe that my friend Crustu would agree with that. So you do have the opportunity to choose using the start farm. Now, what we did not realize is that by doing so, even in start from scratch mode, you get equipment and you get everything that is a part of that start farm. So, with that said, to keep this as simple can be, so I myself, as well as Crustu, don't receive a bunch of questions about the challenge and how to start it, I'm going to go ahead and authorize the use of the following. But this is optional, okay? I will also say before I move forward that I believe Crustu, as well as myself, I know myself, will probably not do it this way, and I believe Crustu will probably not do it this way either. But I don't want to shy anybody away from a fun play in FS25 to start things off without any mods, or, challenge yourself to a new way to play. So, if you choose not to use the starting farm, then you are allowed to make this following change right here. You can give yourself $1 million, but you still have your starting loan of 250,000, your bank debt, if you will. Now I realize that once you load into the map with that much money of $1 million, everybody could, pay off their debt. But that's not the, what do I want to say? That's not something that you'll probably find myself or Crustu doing right away, is paying off our debt. I'm going to utilize my money the best way I can, and even though paying off the debt would be great, money being spent elsewhere is more important. Okay, so the reason I'm giving the option to have $1 million plus the $250,000 starting loan, which is actually a debt in the bank, in your finances, in start from scratch mode, is that because if we leave it like this, to $500,000 and $250,000 debt, and you choose the start farm, you end up with equipment, everything on the property, and fields. Now, a person could go into the challenge right from this setting right here, and you could sell everything, and you're going to end up with somewhere just over $1.3 million. Okay, I'm not saying that you can or you cannot do that, but there's always a but, ain't there? I guess I would influence you. If you choose to start with the starting farm, you may do so, but I would encourage you and challenge you to not sell your equipment and to not sell your property just to get yourself 1.3 million. Now, if you want to play this challenge the way that Crustu and myself are going to play this challenge, then you would set it up like this. You would leave everything like that, start from scratch, $500,000, $250,000 debt, and you would choose no farm, which means you're going to have no equipment and no property at all. Now, that is how Crustu and myself, I believe, are both going to start this challenge. This is the way it was designed to be started. But again, I don't want to shy anybody away from playing the game and enjoying the starting farm like I know a lot of players enjoy the starting farm. So, if you want to use the starting farm, you may use the starting farm. What you do with it after that is your choice. I'm not going to stop you from what you can do with the game after you start this way. Or that way, I should say. But if you choose not to use the starting farm, you may have the option to start with $1 million, but I prefer you challenge yourself to start with the way the challenge was originally designed, which is $500,000 and $250,000 debt. Now, the next step here is you can play this challenge in either normal economy or hard economy. For this example, we're just going to leave it in hard economy, and we will load into the map. Now, your mods come into play next, okay? Now, the mods here, we don't have very many mods to start with in FS25. So the only mod here that really is not allowed to be used is this government subsidy sign. So we'll shut that off. Now, I will challenge you that if you want to have the government subsidy sign for your career mode, you may do so by one way. That way is when you decide to landscape an area, you would use a government sign to give you that money for free landscaping, but then reduce your money back down to what you had before you implemented the government sign for free landscaping. And even though we have no mods to lower money, don't forget you can lease and return items to the store to reduce money. So we have the government sign shut off, and I will probably play this with the government sign shut off and earn all my money for landscaping. So let's start. We will wait for the map to load in here so we can move forward. So the next things with Can You Survive 25 is settings. All the other settings, once we get loaded, once we choose our character here, we'll put some glasses on. We got our character. Alright, now, if we go into this menu here, all of these settings in here are up to the player's choice. So you can do whatever you wish here. Okay? All those are your own choice. Now, we will move on to contracts. Contracts, you may do contracts in this challenge, and you may also borrow the equipment to do the contract. Okay? Finances. Okay? Finances. We have a starting balance of 500,000 with a loan of 250,000, or I should say not a loan, a debt of 250,000 to start this, okay? You may borrow more money. You may give yourself a loan, okay? And however you choose to give yourself a loan is up to you, okay? Not going to restrict how much money you want to borrow from the bank in a loan, but just remember at the conclusion you have to have your debt paid off. Okay, now the next thing is if we go to equipment. Let's just pick this little vineyard tractor. Okay. Down at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen here on PlayStation, and it's probably similar to on Xbox or PC, we're going to hit that lease button. Okay. You may lease items throughout this challenge. That is your choice on how you restrict your leasing. The way I play with leasing, I'm probably going to play the following gameplay throughout this challenge when it comes to leasing, to where I can only lease 3 items at one time. Any 3 items can be leased at any given time, but no more than 3. That is how I will probably play it. But you may choose how you wish to play the challenge with leasing. Okay, now, to move forward after all of this, there is 3 stages to this challenge. Okay, the stages are basically there is a few things you have to do. Okay. Throughout this challenge, and maybe having stages, or describing it as having stages, isn't probably the best way to do it. Just remember, through this challenge, you have to finish the challenge with 3 different farm builds across the map. Each farm must have a house, a silo, and 2 storage sheds. Each farm must also have at least 1 business focus, but different than the other 2 farms. So, for example, this farm right here, because it is known as the starting farm, may be a dairy farm, okay? Because you've got cows right here. All right, now, because you got cows right there, the focus then would be, you might want this to be a dairy farm. So your business is going to be dairy. So each farm must own at least one production and or sell point that relates to their individual business focus, such as the dairy farm would own a dairy production or similar to. So, for instance, to finish your starting farm, you must buy and place here in factories a dairy somewhere on the map. I'm not going to restrict it as to where you place it on the map, but what I will say is I would rather you as the player of the challenge not place your production point on your farm. Your production point must be placed somewhere else on a different piece of property on the map. But you might not even have to do that, because most of these base game maps here should already have a dairy. So you just need to purchase the dairy and continue to operate it as you would as a dairy. Okay, so then farm 2. Let's say farm 2, we'll just use this as an example, is a greenhouse farm. Okay, you don't have any animals here. Okay, but you have greenhouses, and you may place your greenhouses on that farm if that's what you choose to do, or you can place them somewhere else. Let's say farm 3 is known for just making grain, so you have no animals on your farm, but you have to build another farm somewhere else. Okay? Hopefully you're all following along with the point of this. So basically, stages 1 through 3 consists of basically building 3 different farming operations across the map. For instance, farm 1 would be a dairy farm, so you must buy the dairy production point on the map. Farm 2 could be a greenhouse farm, where you own greenhouses. Farm 3 could be a grain farm, where you just have grain at the farm. But just remember, each farm build must have a house, a silo, and 2 storage sheds. That is the minimum of what you should have. Now, the important part of this is each farm can only supply their own business focus. So, for instance, if this was the dairy farm, this is the only farm here that can supply your dairy production. Now, I realize that from time to time, as a player, including myself, is probably going to be a little forgetful at times. And farm 2 from the greenhouses might make the mistake of supplying the dairy. Just try and be as honest and thoughtful as you can when it comes to remembering that each farm must supply their own product for production. So basically, this dairy farm can't supply the greenhouse farm, or this dairy farm can't supply more grain for the grain farm. Do you follow? I don't know how to make it any more simpler, but I think it's been discussed in a very simple way, I hope. Alright, now the next couple of things. If possible, each farm must build one buildable object. Examples: covered wagons, temples, etc. And you don't have to have that buildable object off of your property. So if we go here, where are they at here now? Let's see. We go up here to sheds, constructibles. Let's choose one here. Oops. Let's say we want to build this constructible for the dairy farm. All we have to do is place it somewhere on the dairy farm and construct it. Okay? And then let's say your greenhouse farm, you want your greenhouse farm to have an extra shed. The buttons on here get a little, like, they don't reset occasionally, so you gotta exit back out and go back in. But let's just say the greenhouse farm, you want an extra shed to be your constructible item, your buildable item. So then you would place this, and you would have to haul the material to this location to build that shed. So each farm must complete one buildable object wherever you want that buildable object to be on the map. Okay, now here's where the whole concept of can you survive 25 comes into play. Who is gonna join Crustu and I at surviving 25? What I mean by that is there is a side challenge to this whole can you survive 25. That is a bronze award, a silver award, a gold award, and a platinum award. In order to get a bronze award, your game save must have 500 hours on it. In order to receive the silver award for this Can You Survive 25, you will need 750 hours. In order to receive the gold award, you will need 1,000 hours on your game save. Now, if you want to go for the ultimate side challenge goal in this Can You Survive 25, will your game save be at 1,500 or more by the time the next FS game releases? Anything above 1,500, you are recognized as being a platinum farmer in Farming Simulator 25. The focus and concept of this challenge that Crustu and I have developed is seeing how long we can make a single gameplay last. Now realize, everybody, that from time to time a person gets bored, if you will, with the game save. So just remember, you don't have to continually play the game save, but try and keep the game save and just see how many hours you can put on it by the time the next FS releases. Okay, now, I ask you all, can you survive 25 in FS25 here in this great community and farming simulator that was basically all started by giants bringing us this great game? So who is going to join Crustu and I in FS25 and see if they can also survive 25? Well, with that said, everybody, I believe that that should conclude the setup for this video. You're probably all asking, well, what do we do with our money? What you do with your money is up to you. As long as you have followed the steps that I have discussed, you may do as you wish. When mods drop to the mod hub, you may implement mods. The only thing that Crustu and I are going to probably challenge ourselves to do is that when it comes to money mods, Crustu and I probably will only be using small money mods to progress. What I mean by that is this. Small money mods would be things like, whoops. Why won't it place it? Oh, because I don't own the land. Like a small solar generator. Okay. Might be what you want to use as a small money maker. Let's see if I can get that one to show up. So like this one or that one would be like considered a small money mod. Not saying you can't use them. What I just will say is you probably won't see Crustu and I placing down a thing like this unless we have earned the money to purchase it. Am I saying that I'm going to use one of these? Probably not. Am I saying that Crustu will probably use one of these? Probably not. Now, am I saying that by the time you see the end of our creations on our map, we may have both built wind farms? I don't know. But what I will say is, I would love everybody to see how far you can challenge yourself at surviving FS25 by the time the next game would release. Can you keep one game save alive until the next release? And may that game save be any one of the 3 default maps for FS25. And how many hours will you put on it by the release of the next game? If you join Crustu and I, what I encourage you to do is, once we get that far with this long challenge, is at the end of it, prior to the release of the next FS, create a video and give us a tour of what the map looked like before you started the challenge and what the map looked like after the challenge. I would influence you to even give us a halfway point tour in your creations of live streaming or recorded videos. But with that said, everybody, I'll ask you again, can you survive 25? Hopefully, we see you very soon. And if you've enjoyed the concept of this challenge, please make sure that you drop a tasty treat known as a cot battery, but also known by you as a delicious donut. Don't forget to leave us a comment in the comment section, and please share this video by sharing a box of donuts with all our friends and family. But we will see you all in the next one.
PlayStation